for a radiant Sharia that has regulated the affairs of life and preserved for his servants their rights, their wealth, and their honor. I bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship but Allah alone, with no partner. A testimony founded upon justice and certainty, absolved of oppression and manifest tyranny. He commanded justice and excellence, and he forbade injustice and aggression. And I bear witness that our Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his servant and messenger, the trustworthy guardian of revelation and the sincere counselor to all creation. Allah sent him as a mercy to the worlds and a model for all who engage in dealings. He never consumed another's wealth unlawfully, nor did he accept the loss or neglect of a rightful claimant's due. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon him and upon his family and companions, those who were most faithful to their covenants and most trustworthy with people's rights, and may he grant them abundant peace. I counsel you, O servants of Allah, and myself to be mindful of Allah, of the Almighty and Exalted, for it is the provision for the day of return and a fortress against consequences and resentments. And know that God consciousness in matters of wealth is more critical than his consciousness in other matters, and that whoever fails to observe the rights of people will not benefit from merely claiming the rights of the Creator. Allah the Exalted says in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 281, and fear a day when you will be returned to Allah, then every soul will be compensated for what it earned, and they will not be treated unjustly. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, the focus of today's sermon is the Constitution of Rights and the Covenant of Faithfulness, reflections on the verse of death. Indeed, among the greatness of this religion is that it has not left the affairs of life to futility, nor has it left financial dealings vulnerable to personal whims and disputes. Rather, Allah the Almighty revealed in his book and the longest verse in the Holy Quran, not to speak of prayer or fasting, but to regulate the matter of death and documentation among mankind. The truth glorified be he says in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 282, O you who have believed, when you contract a debt for a specified term, write it down. It is an explicit divine command to write and document, not out of suspicion towards people's integrity, nor to question their trustworthiness, but rather to safeguard rights from being lost, to protect hearts from rancor, and to sever the very roots of dispute. The Quran has taught us that justice in transaction is an act of worship, that documentation is a trust, and that order and regulation do not contradict faith, rather they perfect it. O servants of Allah, precision in documentation is a form of excellence, which Allah has prescribed in all things. Thus, the script commanded in the verse, and let a script write between you in justice, must be proficient in his work and honest with his pen, neither adding nothing nor omitting nothing. And this is the very essence of ihsan. Furthermore, the debtor who dictates the obligation, and let the one who has the obligation dictate, as is required to be mindful of Allah. And let him fear Allah his Lord and not leave anything out of it. And this is of the perfection of God consciousness, and so that the system of justice to be complete, Islam has surrounded those responsible for documentation with a shield of protection and dignity. For he, glorious be his status, said, and let no script be harmed or any witness. It is a profound principle that establishes professional ethics and integrity of performance, adhering to the maxim, there shall be no harm nor reciprocating of harm. It is not permissible for the script or the witness to be subjected to pressure or threats to deviate from the truth, nor should they exploit their position to harm either of the contracting parties through falsification or procrastination. It is a call to absolute integrity, where the only authority over the documenter is his conscience and his fear of his Lord. O believers, indeed, this religion is valid for every era. The verse of death serves as the moral foundation for laws of integrity and governance. The means of bearing witness have evolved. Electronic signatures, official notarizations, and digital records are all contemporary applications of the Almighty's saying, and bring to witness two witnesses, who stand before a remarkable legislative precedent revealed 14 centuries ago, which continues to govern the world of banking and contracts to this day. It is the verse of death which was not revealed to regulate an act of pure worship, but to establish the rules of good governance and the principles of financial integrity. The truth, glorified be He, says, O you who have believed, when you contract a debt for a specified term, write it down. This establishes the principle of documentation that protects individuals, companies, and nations, and severes the roots of dispute before they occur. If we reflect upon our contemporary reality, we find that the regulations we live by today are an extension of this divine directive. Modern contracts, for example, whether employment contracts, lease agreements, partnerships, contracting agreements, or installment sales, all are practical applications of His sayings. Write it down. The script of justice, this is represented today by official notaries, electronic government systems, and digital signatures, which have come to stand in the place of handwriting to guarantee rights. The witnesses, their forms have evolved. While witnessing was historically done by men, today the invoice is a form of bearing witness, alongside electronic signatures and official documentation. All of these are applications of His saying, and bring to witness two witnesses. O servants of Allah, indeed Allah the Almighty says in Surah Al-Baqarah verse 282, and do not be too weary to write it, whether it is small or large, for its specified time. In this lies an explicit call to overcome weariness regarding documentation. There is no embarrassment between brothers and friends in documenting debts and loans, even if it be through a text message or an email. For indeed, most contemporary disputes and the severing of ties kinship stem from the phrase, we had a verbal agreement. It is from the perfection and balance of this legislation that while it is strict regarding the writing of debt, it is lenient regarding quick daily transactions. He, glorified be He, says, except when it is an immediate transaction which you conduct among yourselves, for then there is no blame upon you if you do not write it. This applies today to our cash buying and selling, immediate payments and rapid transactions. Allah has lifted the burden of writing these down to facilitate the flow of life. Yet even so, existence of an invoice in these transactions today is considered a praiseworthy form of witnessing to settle any potential dispute. Allah concluded the verse of debt by saying, and fear Allah and Allah teaches you. Here the Quran creates a magnificent link between the legal system and divine surveillance, establishing a golden rule. Contracts have no value without trustworthiness, and documentation has no meaning with ill intentions. For he who is not deterred by the fear of Allah will not be deterred by papers or seals. The true criterion lies in the fear of Allah that settles in the heart before that which is written by hand in the registers. O brethren in Islam, the verse of death was not revealed to restrict the vastness of our lives, but to preserve our affection and to cut off the roots of conflict. So do not leave your rights to mere assumptions, and do not entrust your wealth to forgetfulness. For indeed, the pen is the faithful guardian, and the writing is the clear witness. So fear Allah regarding people's wealth, and make this verse a guiding light for you in every sale and purchase.